Week 14 has arrived, which means the fantasy season is already come to a close. And what we're doing is we're going to be specifically going over a few quarterbacks and some defenses that you need to be streaming because we have another bye week. And I don't know why the NFL allowed bye weeks to be here this late. However, don't worry, I'm going to give you a remedy to overcome that. So if you are in a situation where you have a lot of players and you need to find some upside opportunities to help you out at the quarterback position as well as that defense, don't worry, this video will go over all of that. And for starters, let's go ahead and kick it off with the quarterback position. I have 3 players that you should be streaming this week. The first one is going to be Caleb Williams, quarterback out of the Chicago Bears. Currently, he's rostered only in 47.1% of ESPN leagues, which means he is more than likely available in yours. And he's coming off his second back-to-back multi-touchdown game. He's now had 5 total touchdowns during this 2-week span. He also is now coming off 2 straight games with 20 plus fantasy points in those matchups, and he also is facing a San Francisco 49ers defense in week 14 that has allowed 325 total yards to opponents in back-to-back weeks. This all right here makes Caleb Williams for me a easy streaming option at the quarterback position, and one that you can rely on that could at least be effective in helping you out to get through week 14. The next one is going to be quarterback Derek Carr of the New Orleans Saints. Now this one is only really because of the situation with bye weeks. So if you have someone like Lamar Jackson or Jaden Daniels, which I do in some leagues, Derek Carr is someone that I wouldn't actually mind starting, and it all boils down to the favorable schedule that he has. He is going to be facing a New York Giants defense that will at least help you weather the storm. And if you look a little bit further, the New York Giants have allowed the 14th most points to opposing quarterbacks when it comes to total fantasy points. They have also had 8 straight games allowing over 300 yards of total offense to their opponents. And when we deep dive Derek Carr's rankings as a quarterback this year, he has been 5th among all QBs in true passer rating. He's also been 5th among all QBs in QBR. And in case you need to go a little bit further, I think that Derek Carr is a good stash as well as more of an emergency player to have, especially considering that his schedule for the playoffs is really favorable. And you know what, I actually wanted to pause real quick to give you guys a little pro tip. This is something that I've been doing now that the postseason is going to be here for your fantasy football season, and if you're going to be lucky to be involved in that, I would stash 2 or 3 quarterbacks maybe on your bench. And I typically ride with one quarterback all season long, but I only tend to really up my QBs as well as my defenses just to play more of a defensive approach. And also this helps out because in some leagues that I'm in, the tiebreaker of a matchup actually boils down to who has the most fantasy points on the bench, and quarterbacks are the most reliable position as far as the amount of points that they can get you on a weekly basis. So with that, Derek Carr for me is someone that I will look to stash even beyond week 14. So be sure to target Derek Carr as someone to add to your fantasy roster. And one more player to add that I think will be a really good option is going to be Marquez Valdes-Scatling out of the New Orleans Saints. Now this also works out because if you're getting Derek Carr, MVS also becomes a really good stash option. And I know that he is the pure definition of boomer bust. I mean, when we look at the numbers that he's had so far, he has only been an upside play at best. And when you look at the last 3 weeks, he's averaged 18 points during that stretch. He's had 4 touchdowns on 7 receptions and 10 targets. So the volume is not really there, but the touchdowns have come there obviously in a huge way, and this in no way is sustainable whatsoever. However, with New York allowing 195 passing yards in 4 of the last 5 games, I mean, this for me makes MVS a very reasonable option, especially with the amount of teams that we have on bye, and I'm sure a lot of position players that you are relying on a weekly basis that are not going to be available. You combine the MVS receiver with the QB stack with Derek Carr, this at least provides a pretty good upside ceiling option for you for week 14. Now that we've gone over these 3 players, I'm going to go over some defenses that will be good streaming options for you in week 14. But before we do so, a lot of you aren't already subscribed, so if you're getting value, do me a solid. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. Let's go over these 2 defenses. And the first one, to no surprise, is going to be the New Orleans Saints. I feel like this is going to be a New Orleans Saints video, but currently this defense is only rostered in 51.9% of ESPN leagues. This defense, I know, hasn't had a double-digit output as far as scoring goes in fantasy since week 1, and that was versus Carolina. But I'm looking a little bit beyond it, and the reason why I'm doing so is because the New York Giants are an offensive line that has allowed 40 sacks thus far into the year, which is the 7th most in the NFL. And New Orleans has currently been really good at getting to the quarterback, and they have actually recorded 3 sacks in 3 of their last 5 games. And when you look at the year average, the New York Giants offense has actually allowed defenses to average 10.4 fantasy points in their weekly matchups, which makes New Orleans for me an easy option to stream in week 14. And the final team that you should be streaming for week 14 is going to be the Tennessee Titans defense. Currently, this defense is only rostered in 36.8% of ESPN leagues, so they're more than likely available. And what makes them valuable is that this defense currently is ranked 4th overall in sacks. They have had 8 in the last 3 games, and they're also 2nd in yards allowed per game. They are also a top 12 defense when it comes to pressure rate, and they're also a top 9 defense when it comes to pass rush win rate. And with their opponent being the Jacksonville Jaguars, they have already suffered so many injuries with Gabe Davis, Christian Kirk, but now you have Trevor Lawrence out with a concussion, and you're going to have Mac Jones filling in. This becomes a slam dunk option for me, considering that the opponent is weak, but also this defense is also one that you can rely on that could get you some potential upside points in week 14. Hey, you made it to the very end of this video. Thank you so much for watching. It means the world to me. Hey, listen, if you got value on this video, do me a solid. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, check out some of these other videos that I have here on the channel that'll help you out as we get ready for the fantasy football postseason. Best of luck to you in week 14, and until next time, take care, God bless, peace.